Praise be to the Lord Jesus. Welcome to this next episode of Views of Indian Christians Expressed, voice and initiative of the Indian Catholic Forum. Our topic for today is the Christian contribution to the nation. This is to be a counter narrative because the last two episodes we talked about persecution and the perception. So let's go positive and say who we are, what we have done for the country. Now, just two little things before I go to the narrative. One is, first of all, a big thank you to all of you all because we have received almost 10,000 views in the short period since this channel has begun. God bless all of you. The second thing is, some of you asked a question whether I am a priest or a journalist. Well, the answer is no to both. I am a community leader, if you'd like to put it like that, chairperson of this, convener of this Indian Catholic Forum, and former national president of All India Catholic Union. That's just a short intro. So dear friends, let's go into this, dive straight into this perception battle. Some of you who live in the Hindi belt may have heard this very derogatory statement, अंग्रेज चले गए अपनी औलाद छोड़ गए, which means that the British went away but they left their progeny behind, pointing towards the Christian community. I think we need to bury this also to show that we are not anybody else's progeny and how we have contributed to the nation. Now, if I was a priest, which as I said I am not, or a bishop, I would have spoken about the institutional services to the country through education and through hospitals and health and things like that. And that's well documented and there's brooks no argument. However, let's move a little beyond that from institutions to individuals. When we talk about individual Christians and their contribution to the nation, perhaps the first name that springs to mind is that of Super Cop Julio Ribeiro, former ambassador and Director General of Police of Punjab at a time when it was in terrorist turmoil. However, many do not know, and that's why we are sharing this with you all, that there were two other Christians who were Director General of Police at the same time. There was Francis Colasso in the neighboring and also trouble-torn state of Jammu and Kashmir. And later he went to Karnataka also as DGP. And then in Andhra, there was Cliffy Saldana. At the same time, another top cop was John Lobo, who was the director of the CBI. So these are among the top cops which we have seen. Now let's move to bureaucrats. Perhaps the most famous one is RCVP Narona of the ICS. He was of the Madhya Pradesh cadre, and in 1961, when Goa was liberated, Jawaharlal Nehru chose him specially to be the first chief civilian administrator of the newly liberated Goa. Later he came back to Madhya Pradesh and he retired as chief secretary. When he retired, you won't believe it, I've seen a photo of it, he drove out of office on a Vicky moped. Moped, not even a scooter. That is the level of integrity and honesty that this man showed in his service. And that is why even now the Administrative Training Institute in Bhopal is named after him. In Goa, he was assisted by Alban Puto, an IS officer of the Bihar cadre, and I met his wife and she told me when he later became the commissioner of Patna, his biggest challenge was to keep Jai Prakash Narayan safe in 1975. Another great IS officer who protected Jai Prakash was M.G. Deva Sahayam, who was then the district magistrate of Chandigarh, where JP was incarcerated by Indira Gandhi. Now I'll take you to other persons from the Northeast. Why? Because there are sometimes questions asked about our loyalty to the nation. So I'm going to tell you about some great guys, or ladies included, from the Northeast who served the nation. Two of them were chairpersons of the Union Public Service Commission, and the latest one was David Siemliak. Then there is the great Chief Election Commissioner who conducted the elections in Kashmir, James Michael Lyngdoh. Another famous name from the Northeast which we may not have heard of is Anthony Liazuala from Mizoram. He was the Controller General of Accounts. So it shows how such persons from the Northeast have held important and responsible positions in the government. Now I would like you to show you two books. Here they are. The first one is The Christian Community in the National Mainstream by Luis de Silva, a professor of Bombay University, and the second one is Patriotism in Action by Valmiki Falero, unfortunately passed away very recently, and I'm going to quote extensively from these two sources. Now, de Silva says that according to Nehru, the early Christian missionaries, especially from the Baptist mission in Serampur, did pioneering work in native languages, the languages of India, not of their origin. Indira Gandhi, speaking of Padma Vibhushan Baba Kamil Bulke, said he was the foremost authority on the Tulsidas Ramayana. See what great people these were. And I'm going to show you his book now. Some of you all would be aware of this, that he was one of the foremost authorities on Hindi. And his dictionary, English Hindi dictionary, Shabdkosh, before the advent of Google, was used it was mandatory in every government office. So it just shows the contribution. See, I'm not a historian, and I know some viewers asked me, what about the contribution of missionaries to Indian languages? Well, I could share as much as I know. But recently, and I hope we can catch this on the camera, you see, this is in Tamil script, written on palm leaves, and it was written 300 years ago and recently discovered in an Armenian monastery in Venice. The author of these manuscripts in Tamil is an Italian missionary, Michel Bertoldi, who then took the Tamil name of Gyan Prakash Swami. So it shows how these people were really loved our country, even if they didn't belong to our country originally. And okay, let's move now to sports. There have been many sports persons from our community, but the interesting thing is when they played for the country, they were at a different level, and when they played in some tournaments. And the most outstanding name among that is Leander Pace, whether it was in the Davis Cup or in the Olympics. Unimaginable how he could take on much bigger opponents. Now I'm going to tell you two names. Both are Vijay. You may not think that they are Christian. One is Vijay Hazare, after whom the Hazare Cup and tournament is named. He was Christian. And then Vijay Amritraj, top tennis player, just like Leander, who could play for the country, play his heart out. So sometimes the names may not indicate who they are, but they are very much there. Let's move to the Supreme Court and other courts. We have had a plethora of wonderful judges in the Supreme Court, recently retired Kurian Joseph, and of course at the moment we have Augustine Massey. Then in the foreign services also we have not just Ribeiro, there was K.P. Fabian and many other distinguished ambassadors who served the country. But if there is one area where our contribution really stands out, it is that of defense, in the defense sector. Of course, we have had two defense ministers, George Fernandez and A.K. Anthony. But we have six chiefs of staff, three in the Navy, two in the Air Force, and one in the Army. And they are Admirals R.S. Pereira, O.S. Dawson, and Sushil Isaac Kumar from the Navy, D.A. LaFontaine and N.A.K. Brown who were Air Chief Marshals, and then of course General Sunit Francis Rodrigues, Chief of Army Staff. In this book which I was just telling you about, in this book, General Rodrigues says something very interesting about Goa. See, normally it's known for some F's, football, foreign tourists, Fernandez, Faney, but there's another fifth F, and that is fighters. He says in this book that the Goan contribution to the officer ranks is the highest per capita in the country. It's a very, very interesting observation. And if you think that's long ago, no. Very recently, last month, we had Lieutenant Mario Fernandez commissioned into the army from Margao in Goa. Interesting. His mother, his father, his brother, and his grandfather, all officers in the army. I'm going to tell you about two Christian pilots who saved the lives of our prime ministers. The first one is squadron leader Reggie Rufus. He had to crash land his Dakota in a paddy field near Coimbatore, and he did that to save our Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. The other one was Wing Commander Clarence de Lima. He was flying a Tu-124 and he had to crash land near Jorat in Assam. Now, his passenger was Prime Minister Morarji Desai, and he had to make a very tough decision. If he landed what we call tail down, his passengers, including the Prime Minister, would have died. If he landed nose first, he would have died. And he made the supreme sacrifice of landing nose first. He and his colleagues all died, but the Prime Minister was safe. These are great people. Let us not forget them. Now let's come to gallantry awards. You see, they were started or issued only after India became a republic in 1950. And the first person to receive the Mahavir Chakra for operations in 1947 actually was squadron leader Sidney Narona, who received it posthumously. At that time, 13 Christians from the IF were given Veer Chakra, and one of them, Air Commodore Anthony Suarez, actually received it the second time in 1961. Okay, so we moved to 1967 Indo-Pak War. Then Brigadier Reginald Narona, who later became Deputy Chief of Army Staff, he received the Mahavir Chakra together with Wing Commander William Goodman. Group Captain George John got the PVSM, and of the famous Keeler brothers, Trevor and Keith, both squadron leaders, both got the Veer Chakra, as well as Flight Lieutenant Alfred Cook. Let's move now to 1971 Indo-Bangladesh War. Highest award, Param Veer Chakra, was given to Lance Naik Albert Eka from Jharkhand. He received it also posthumously. At that time, 4 Christian officers received the Mahavir Chakra, 11 Veer Chakra, 5 Sena medals, 3 Nau Sena medals, and 5 Vayu Sena medals. Air Marshal Johnny Green was decorated 4 times, PVSM, AVSM, Veer Chakra and Vayu Sena medal. Then Paratrooper Lieutenant General Matthew Thomas, he received all the Vishesh Seva medals, PVSM, AVSM and VSM, unique. Then World War II veteran Major Eustace D'Souza, he led the Republic Day Parade. And now I'm going to tell you a very, very interesting story of Dr. Christovan Barreto of Nagpur. 4 of his sons were officers, 3 in the Army, 1 in the Air Force. One son, Lieutenant General Barreto, who was Christopher Barreto, who was also PVSM, AVSM. Now, their father was the dentist for Mahatma Gandhi in his Vardha ashram and extracted some of his teeth. Those teeth were with the family. Then General Barreto, people were selling things connected with Gandhiji for millions of rupees. He donated it to the Gandhi Museum in Delhi. This is what we call true Desh Bhakti. Now, there's a perception that we Christians are not involved in politics. That's wrong. See, okay, in Christian dominated areas, yes, we are there. But I tell you about 2 states where Christians are hardly anybody in number, and yet they have produced Christian chief ministers. First is Ajit Jogi of Chhattisgarh, and then YSR Reddy of Andhra Pradesh. And now his son Jagmohan Reddy is also the chief minister of Andhra Pradesh. So dear friends, let nobody say we are Angrez ke aulad, how stupid really, but let us say हम भारत माता के लाल है. Thank you very much for listening and watching this video. Please share it not just with our own community, but all people of goodwill who love our country. Thank you so much. God bless you. Subscribe, share, comment, do what you want. Thank you and keep watching.